Welcome, everybody, to an episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. This is a special episode, a CFP exclusive. We have your college football playoff reactions, your NFL reactions to a crazy week that just happened, some previews to some huge games that are going to happen this weekend. We also have a little NBA in-season tournament talk and some MLB action with a certain player, Juan Soto, just traded recently. We got a lot to get into. We got a lot to unpack. But before we do that, let me welcome Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, Florida State's own, College Cottrell.
Yeah, so I wouldn't quite go that far, but I can't wait to get into that. Boy, oh boy. Got a lot to talk about there.
Well, in the upper right corner, we have the ranter, Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, Seminole fan himself.
I'm a Seminole fan. I mean, a fan that's number one team in the country, but doesn't change the fact that Florida State got screwed.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the college football playoff and did they get it right? I don't think any of us think they got it right, but I think we all have like a different kind of expectation and thought process of what happened, right? My thought process, and I'll get into it first, and because I'm sure these two will argue with me, is they got it wrong, which I think everyone agrees with, but I'll be entertained because it's two football games I want to watch. Now, it really depends on the letter of the law, like what you're asking them to do. So are you going to go by previous CFP? Are you going to go by their bylaws and what they say, the best four teams in the country? Do you do it as the most deserving four teams in the country? They say best four teams. I think anybody can agree Florida State's not one of the best four teams in the country. They're not. They're not. They are not one of the best teams in the country. So by that metric, I think they got it right. But they did not get the best four teams in the college football playoff. If you wanted the best four teams in college football playoff, it should have been Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, or Texas. They're the best four teams in the country. If you want the most deserving four teams in the college football playoffs, it's got to be Michigan, Florida State, Washington, Texas. That's the most deserving for. What they gave you was the most entertaining for. And that's what my personal opinion is. They gave you the most entertaining for. I'll pause. Hey, just wondering. Your thoughts, Cottrell, do you think they got it right? And what do you think they did? Most deserving for? I'll spot.
No. So they definitely got it wrong. And I mean, I think it's blatantly obvious that they got it wrong. You know, when you're looking at this playoff here, you would absolutely think that Florida State, if you're going to go by most deserving, Florida State absolutely has to be that team. And if you want to go by the four best teams, there's no way that you tell me Georgia losing a close game to Alabama on a neutral field means that they're not one of the four best teams in the country. So, I mean, I think the biggest reason why I think they got it wrong is because they moved the goalpost on everybody. You know, if you wanted to stay consistent, you had Florida State at 4, and they went out and beat a number 14th ranked Louisville team with their third string quarterback. Their backup quarterback would have been back in plenty of time to be able to play in a CFP playoff game. So I 100% think that they got it wrong here. Now, did they give us a more entertaining game? Yeah, they absolutely did. I mean, you know, Alabama, Michigan is going to be a much better game. Washington, Texas is going to be probably a much better game. But we don't know what Florida State would have had. I mean, if we're just going off of what we think's going to happen, you guys know firsthand. I know it's a higher level, but NFL wise, Carson Wentz was an MVP favorite, similar to how Jordan Travis was getting looked at in the Heisman talks, things like that. Yes, he wasn't the favorite, but if everybody had just written you guys off and was like, hey, we're not even going to give you a chance to see what you look like with Nick Foles, no one would have picked you guys to go out there and beat Tom Brady. No one would have said that was going to be the most entertaining Super Bowl we've ever had. But that absolutely wasn't the case. We got so much good stuff from that game, and the Eagles prevailed. Again, I know it's different levels, but just because you have a backup quarterback doesn't mean that you're not going to go out there and be competitive, because Florida State had one of the best defenses as well in the country. Ton of talent there. They could have relied on that to have a close game. I'm just baffled, and I can't believe that they did this.
Shai, what's your thoughts? Are you baffled?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked to some degree that they did it. But they were laying the groundwork for it for a couple of weeks. You go back and watch a selection show from a couple of weeks ago, and it was never about, hey, what's a one-loss Big Ten team going to do? It was always a discussion of what's going to happen if Alabama wins the SEC. What's going to happen to Florida State? My biggest point is what Cottrell said. Their job was not to be subjective and figure out what they think is going to happen in a game. They're not able to predict that. Nobody is. Cottrell brought up a good point. Gene, you felt the same way when it happened. Carson Wentz went down, and we have no shot to win the Super Bowl. Everybody brought up TCU last year about getting killed in the championship game. Fine, good point. But you also left out the point where they were 13.5-point underdogs to Michigan, and they won that game. You don't know what's going to happen on the field. Half the people in that room have never played football. They are not in any position to be subjective and predict what kids are going to do or not going to do on a football field. Their job is to pick the 4 teams based upon the criteria set up for them. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that. If you don't think the ESPN SEC bias is real, let me know. I got some beautiful oceanfront property for you up in Bucks County. It's 100% real. All the stuff's already leaking out about how Herb Street knew an hour before they went on air what the teams were. That's why the helmets were the way they were. There's the stuff that came out about the vote overnight. That's the most damning to me. They couldn't make a decision when they went to bed Saturday night. Nothing changed for Florida State going into Sunday. Nothing. And then their excuse was, well, we don't know what they're going to do with a third-string quarterback. Well, number one, the third-string quarterback's not going to start that game. Their backup is. The backup that went into Florida and beat another SEC school on the road the week before. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Florida State would have beat Michigan or beat Washington or whoever ended up being number one. The point of the whole matter is they deserved to be there. They earned the right to be there. If you are 13-0 in a Power 5 conference, you beat 2 SEC schools for the team that you just plucked and leapfrog them with. That matters. Alabama had their shot to go undefeated, and they lost. That's their fault. That's not Florida State's cross to bear. They got beat. They got their asses beat by Texas on their home field. That is what they were responsible for. They didn't take care of their business. It's not up to the committee to then fight their wars for them, which is exactly what happened. It's pure bias. It's pure bullshit. They're getting called out for it everywhere, as they should. They're getting raked over the coals, as they should, because they messed it up. They did. They wanted the money. They wanted the SEC in because guess what? People keep glossing it. Well, I don't say people. They don't say this on ESPN, but every other major network has picked up on it. ESPN's deal with the SEC starts January 1, 2024. Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient that Alabama all of a sudden is going to the Rose Bowl on January 1st, New Year's Day? Isn't that convenient? Smells like a rat, looks like a rat. It's probably a rat. It's a rat.
I mean, you could say that, and I don't necessarily – guys, I don't care what you guys think. I don't. Florida State being in the college football playoff would be bad for business, would be bad for viewership, would be bad for people watching the game. You could say whatever you want.
How many people less do you think are going to watch the Rose Bowl if Florida State's in it versus Alabama? Honestly.
A ton.
You're wrong.
I think Alabama's the biggest draw in the country.
They're not. They're proven.
They are.
They quite literally are not.
Or not. Last 3 years, who's been the number one game on TV watched by everybody by 10
Michigan,
million
Ohio
plus
State.
viewers? Is Alabama in that game?
No.
And
Is Michigan in the Rose Bowl?
second highest game so far
Michigan
this
is
year.
in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Ohio State versus Penn State. So it's not like Alabama is just,
Yeah,
and I
stop.
could make, and we didn't even get into the argument of, if you want to go draw, that's fine. But you're telling me that this Florida State team isn't better than Alabama.
They're not.
I tend to agree. I agree with you there. But you know who they're also not better than? They're not better than Georgia. They're not better than Ohio State. They're not better than Oregon. And they're sitting there at 5, and it's like, hey, we really wanted to put you guys in the playoff.
That was.
We really wanted to put you guys in the playoff, but we just couldn't. We feel like Bama's the better team, but we'll put you guys at 5. We think you're better than Georgia, but we're gonna have you guys face Georgia in their bowl game, and guess what? We're gonna make them 14-point favorites. I know this would absolutely never happen, but if I'm Florida State, there's too much money involved for it to happen. But if I'm Florida State, I'd be like, you know what? Thanks. No thanks. We're good with our 13-0 season. We're not playing Georgia. We're good. We don't want any parts of this. Go have Georgia face whoever you want to put in as an at-large team in this New Year's Six bowl game because we want no parts of it because we should be in the playoff.
That might be happening. So
I hope it does happen. But if they do play, they're going to prove exactly why they're not in the college football playoff because they're not a top 4 team in the country. Now, Shelly, your biggest argument that you make is that they're deserving. But that's not what the rule says. It says the best 4 teams in the country. They are not one of the best 4 teams in the country, admittedly by you.
No, wrong. It is deserving and best 4 based upon the criteria set forth to them. Okay. Criteria is record, people you play, conference championships, head-to-head.
53rd strength of schedule.
Oh, okay. Third strength of record, strength of schedule.
Strength of record was 3rd, 53rd strength of schedule.
Higher than Alabama.
7th.
And then ACC was 6-4 against the SEC. It's not a good year for the SEC. You can slice it however you want. We talked about this. You want to be unbiased about it? This is a down year for the SEC, and it's not close. LSU stinks. Ole Miss is exactly who we thought they were. Tennessee sucks.
I would hate for it to be a down year for the SEC and have 5 teams in the top 15.
And why is that, Gene?
Because they have a ton of 9-2 and 10-1 teams in the college.
But like some of the teams that are there though, like LSU is there, and let's be honest, like I can think of plenty of teams that can beat this LSU team, and we're honestly going to see this bowl season. Now I know some of these matchups aren't going to be as high powered as they could be because people are going to be foregoing the bowl game, things like that. But you're going to see Ole Miss versus Penn State in that bowl game. Like some of these games are really going to show you where everything stands. You're going to see Ohio State versus Missouri. And right now, Missouri is the favorite in that game. Regardless of how you view Ohio State right now, Missouri's favorite based on everything that's going on. LSU, I don't know how, but they got a pretty shitty bowl game. They won't face anybody in the Big Ten. But regardless, you want to talk about the SEC as well. Auburn was a team that lost 2 weeks ago to New Mexico State 31-10. That same Auburn team should have beaten an Alabama team that's going to the college football playoff. 4th and 31 absolutely should not. If that pass gets batted down, are we really talking about Alabama being the 4th best team in the country right now? Even if they do go on and beat Georgia?
For you, Cottrell. I got news for you. If that happened and Alabama still beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, you'd be having the same conversation about Georgia being 4 instead of Alabama because they were not going to be. It's not a problem because if Florida State played any one of those 4 teams in the college football playoffs, they get beat by double digits. Shall we watched Florida State play football. You also watched them when they played against Florida with their backup quarterback. They're not a top 4 team in the country.
So my argument against that is how many other years have we seen teams lose by double digits? We've seen Cincinnati lose to Alabama by double digits. Were they not a deserving team? Absolutely, they were a deserving team.
Versus best are not the same thing.
Right,
look at TCU. Look at TCU last year. They got stomped by Georgia, but guess what?
They beat Michigan.
They beat Michigan. So people are talking about we don't want another TCU game.
Year, you shouldn't put TCU in. Exactly. That's what everybody kept bringing up, but they kept leaving out the fact that they upset Michigan in the first game. And what did we all talk about last year? How good the college football playoff was last year. because except for the championship game, but they were the best 2 semifinal games that we've ever had because every other year the games suck. So they haven't been getting it right every other year. And there was another really good point brought up today. If this was Alabama and Florida State spot, there is no shot in hell they would have kicked Alabama out of that spot if the roles were reversed. Zero. There's an SEC bias. If you don't know, what's the difference? If Jaden Milroe goes down the week before, and
we've seen what Tyler Buckner looked like against USF. So
you're putting Tyler Buckner up against Michigan 1-4 with a 13-0 Florida State team sitting in there? No, they wouldn't, and you know they wouldn't. So why is it this? Just call it for what it is. It's shit. Just call it for what it is.
I don't think it's shit. I think that you're getting better football games. You're getting
that's
better
not the point, though. Like we agree, we agree. You're getting better football. Games.
It's the point to me. I'm the viewer.
Like in years past, like Michigan State was a team that had went on. They got the 4 seed. They won the Big Ten the 1 year. They went on and made the playoff. They got a mud hole stomped through them by Alabama. We're not talking about they got it wrong that year because Michigan State was a deserving team to be there. All these years, we've had the college football playoff the way it is now for 10 years. Every year prior, they've given us the 4 most deserving teams. They didn't do this best. They didn't think about injuries. I mean, you could even look at last year. Michigan had a Heisman damn near favorite in Blake Corum. He got hurt before the college football playoff. They never gave any thought to, hey, let's keep Michigan out. You know, Blake Corum, he scored a ton of touchdowns for him this year. He's been the catalyst to their offense.
Yeah, but
let's not put Michigan in.
Florida State play without their quarterback.
They won a football game against the 14th team in the country with their third-string quarterback.
6-5, and the other team, Louisville, absolutely didn't show up offensively in that game. They had 3 points
Florida
in the
State
third
shut
quarter.
Them down. I mean, you can't go sit there and say that and then hold that against Florida State for their defense going out there and balling the fuck out and winning the game for them.
Shelly,
you can't do that.
Are they a top 4 team in the country?
They should be there.
Are they a top 4 team in the country?
Yep.
They're not. They're not one of the best 4. If they played on a neutral site tomorrow versus Georgia, Alabama, Texas, I hope they show
Ohio
up.
State, Oregon. I mean, you could go down the line, but you're not putting those teams there.
Why'd they only drop them to 5, Gene?
They dropped them to 5 because they literally gave them a pacifier and said, listen, we're not going to go any further.
No, they didn't. They literally said, we're going to shove it up your ass right now. So why did they only drop them to 5, Gene?
You put Florida State at like 9 in reality. Like if
you're going to do it based on, but why didn't they?
I think the committee's wrong. I just think that I'm happy that they're wrong. Do you not understand that?
Okay, but and that's for me, that's fine. Like, I'm okay with having the better football games. And to be honest, we're going to get into previews later on. I'm going to let you guys know what I think. I think Bama wins the championship this year. I think they beat Michigan, and then they beat whoever's on the other side of Washington versus Texas. And the committee's going to look at you guys like, see, we put the best team in the playoff there, and it made sense to us. But that's not the point.
Do you think that Shalley's so heated about this because he knows his Wolverines had a chance to actually win a national championship, and now they're going to lose in the semifinal again?
I'm
asking control.
I mean, I definitely think that there is some anger from that side because regardless, you shouldn't be facing Alabama in the first round. If anything, like worst case scenario, you're looking at Texas, which is still a tough matchup, but you should be facing Texas, and then it should be Washington and Florida State on the other side. I definitely think that as an outsider looking in, I could definitely see why Michigan fans would have some animosity there, but I don't think that's the gist of
the reaction. Watch Michigan's reaction to getting Bama.
There was 4 people. There's 4 other reporters in the room, and they all said the first 4 kids that stood up said, "I can't believe they fucked over Florida State." That has nothing to do with Bama, dude. Even if they were in the other semifinal, they're going to be favored. They'd be favored to win over Washington or Texas probably as well. We'd have to play them one way or the other. Nobody's fucking scared of Alabama, dude.
Sounds like Michigan is.
Nah, it sounds like. Well, I mean, you wouldn't know because Penn State never gets there. So
someone's heated, bro. Look how red he is.
I'm not heated. It's just stupid stuff. Nobody cares who we're playing.
The biggest like I guess issue to me is that Florida State, like, what do you want them to do? because I get
Not
it.
having their quarterback get hurt.
They didn't look great against Louisville with their third string quarterback. I understand that. That's not the guy that's going to be leading them to battle if they would have gone on to go to the college football playoff. And if that's what you're telling me, late in the season in these non-conference games, you're going to start to get a watered down product. Maybe not so much now because they're going to a 12-team playoff, but if I'm Alabama and I'm playing Chattanooga the week before the Iron Bowl or things like that, I'm just pulling everybody off the field, because if I lose that game, it doesn't even matter because I still have Auburn, and then I'm probably going to the SEC championship game anyway. So I almost like, who cares if you lose, to these bad teams if you're going to play your big name players in the big time games?
That's not fair. You can't say
Why
that
isn't it?
just lose
Why?
games.
They just set
They
the
lost
precedent
one
for
game to another team that's in the college football.
No. I get that, but what I'm saying is, if Florida State had sat Jordan Travis against North Alabama and they just go on, they win that game by 1 point with their backup or their third string quarterback, and then Jordan Travis is there for the AC's championship game, then we're not even having this discussion right now. And so I just think it's dumb to penalize a team there and not even give them a chance off something they earned. It'd be one thing if it's like, hey, Florida State, you lost this game here. If you guys wouldn't have lost that, we'd put you in the playoff. They literally took care of everybody who was in front of them. Jordan Travis got hurt 2 weeks ago. So you thought they were good enough after they beat Florida to be the 4 seed, but then they beat number 14 Louisville, and you're like,
they were hoping.
We don't think you're good enough.
I told Chowie this Saturday night, the committee was hoping so badly that Florida State lost that game Saturday night. So I'm going to read some comments out, guys. Let me get to the comments. There's a ton of them, so let me get to you guys. Derek Dempsey said, roll Tide. CJ said, the format will change and people will complain there are too many playoff blowouts.
That's a fact.
Jory said, keep that same energy for Texas, who also lost the game. Damian Hernandez said, Michigan shouldn't be in at all. They didn't really play anybody in their schedule, and all this witch hunt on Harbaugh is BS, because if it's true, why was Michigan in the Big Ten championship? Chris says FSU better not show up, because if they do, they're going to get rolled. He also said deserving and best are not the same. Kyle said Florida State is in a no-win situation. If they play and upset Georgia, it will be Georgia didn't care. If they lose to Georgia, they didn't deserve the spot. Alex said, I'm just here to say they got it right. Derek thinks I'm getting Shally fired up, which I am intentionally. Hold on. Couple more I want to get to real quick. Brandon says Shally wants cupcakes, no part of Bama.
There's no cupcakes. You're an idiot.
Michigan going to beat Bama by 40 is what P said. Wayne said Texas is not scared of Bama. Brandon said Penn State would go 13-0 with Florida State's schedule.
How would James Franklin coaching them?
Nope. I hear you.
They wouldn't have beat Brian Kelly.
And Wayne said Shally big mad. Oh, last one. Derek said if Gene and Shally were in the same room, Shally would go Bobby Boucher. Guys, I listen, we all. So let me ask you a question real quick. If you're the college football playoff committee and the structure in front of you is give us the best 4 teams for the national championship, what would your 4 teams be?
Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State.
Shally?
I don't know. I'm flabbergasted by Cachel's list.
The 4, if you give me 4 best, I didn't say 4 most deserving. 4 best.
I mean, I guess Ohio State would be 4.
It wasn't in that. It wasn't in order. It wasn't in order, by the way. Those were just the 4 teams.
That's probably what I would do. I probably would rematch it across the board.
Yeah, I would go Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Texas. I think Texas is better than Ohio State.
I saw you say Ohio State earlier, Gene. I know
They have
you're switching up because we're on Wire to Wire, but it's okay.
They have a better quarterback in Texas, like a lot better quarterback, and a better.
That's a fact.
Yeah, it's just a better quarterback. All right, so we can give our national championship quickly. We'll obviously preview the games week before the games. We don't need to preview the full games, but we do want to kind of give what our CFP predictions are. We also will have Bowl Mania next week. We'll introduce that Saturday on Coast to Coast. Tune in. We'll introduce it there. We'll open up the Bowl Mania. We'll promote it again next Wednesday on Wire to Wire. But let's give who we think wins both games and who wins the national championship quickly. We'll give our detailed breakdown the week before, but we just kind of want to get a pick.
I'll go Alabama. I think Alabama beats Michigan in the semifinal, and then I think Washington beats Texas, and I got Alabama beating Washington pretty handily in the national championship.
Okay. I'll go second. I have Alabama beating Michigan because they're better. And then I have Texas beating Washington. And then I have Texas beating Alabama again a second time with Daddy Quinn getting the CFP MVP.
I'm going Michigan over Alabama. I'm going Texas over Washington. I'm going Michigan over Texas.
Okay. It'll be very interesting.
We got 3 different national champions.
And that's why the committee got it right. That's why. Now, if it was the other way around, we'd have Michigan in the finals right away. And then the winner of Washington, Texas would have been Texas probably, and you get Texas, Michigan.
The thing is that you should have gotten Florida State on a neutral field with Washington. I don't know why we just automatically slide Texas into this 3 seed. Should have got Florida State versus Washington.
Oh, wow. That'd be even worse because you have Washington in your college football final. They're not that good.
The thing is that, 1, I think they're still going to be there. 2, Florida State has so much talent defensively. Like, they have what it takes to slow down that Washington offense. Like, that is like, look across the board defensively. Their defensive line, they get after the quarterback. They have good corners on the outside. Like, they have what it takes to slow down that Washington team.
I know. It's like, oh no, like all of a sudden then it's Michigan versus Texas. That's an exciting game. Washington versus Florida State's an exciting game. Oh no, can't have that though. Got to make sure Alabama's in there somewhere.
Washington versus Florida State wouldn't be exciting.
It'd been a chess match for sure.
Yep. Not every game has to be 45-40 to be exciting.
I don't think they have to be 45. I think the Alabama-Michigan game is going to be 21-3. I mean, I think it'll be a very good football game, defensive struggle.
I think with a backup quarter. That's fine.
I can't. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying to push the button. Pushing the button.
Button.
You picked against them all year, so I hope you keep picking against them.
I will. I will not pick that cheater Harbaugh ever again. Go to the NFL, you bum.
Good. We'll just keep winning. You just keep taking L's. It's fine.
I don't even. You guys aren't going to make the national championship again. You're going to get beaten in the college football semifinal again for the 3rd straight year.
You guys will go 10-2 again next year.
You're right. I don't claim my team. Penn State stinks.
I know.
Ohio State and Michigan. I don't claim them being great. I'm fine. Listen, I'll give you the same line Big Cat gave Aaron Rodgers. My Super Bowl is when one of you 2 Big Ten teams lose in the college football playoff and get bullied like you bully us Penn State Nittany Lions around.
It's not having a lot of pride. That's pretty sad, actually.
All right, whatever. I know we're not good. I know we aren't. Get rid of James Franklin, and you'll get me a little bit more blue and white,
I didn't sign him. I'm not paying him.
I didn't either. I don't give them no money. All right. Bowl games. We're going to get in the bowl games next week. We'll break those down. We'll give our picks. We'll have our bowl selection. We really kind of just want to get in the CFP. Anything else college football before we close the book on college football tonight?
We've got Army-Navy Saturday.
You want to break it down? I think it's going to be 6-2. I'll go with the under again.
Under's probably a lock, as it always is.
What's it this year? 19?
Let's see.
I think it's like 30.
Is it really 30?
It's so low every year.
Or 20. Yeah, I think it's like
28 and a half.
Yeah.
It's my point. Who cares?
It's Army Navy, bro. It's a big deal.
I guess.
It's the only game in town.
I'll go with Army by 3. They don't cover, but they win.
Navy,
Well,
man. You got to go
so they would
Navy.
cover.
Oh, to cover now. I think they opened up at 3, 3.5.
Yeah, it's 2.5 now.
Army won last year. Navy's got to get their get back.
You got
I
Navy?
I like Navy. Field goal game. You're gonna get 12-9. 12-9 Navy.
Let's give our final NCAA standings for the year. How about this? Ready? Let's go one pick 'em right here. Let's get one, and we'll add it in the next week before we get into Bowl Mania.
Navy points.
I got Army. Who you going with, Shal?
I'm going with Army.
There we go.
Even though I was root for Navy.
I think Army beats Navy. All right, so Cottrell has the best record. I have the most super dog points. Into Bowl Mania, a lot of this gets reset, but Cottrell is officially the NCAA standings winner.
Again.
You're a monster, and then Showie will win Bowl Mania again.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
It
That's how it
does.
goes every year.
The problem is I normally run away with the NFL, and I'm not. I'm losing that too. I'm a loser.
My
I'm a
record's
loser.
wrong.
Your record's wrong? What do you mean?
Yeah, it should be 22 and 20. Not that it matters. It's got to add up to 42. Everybody's adds up to 42.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it doesn't matter.
Maybe it's 20. Maybe it's 21 and 21. Maybe you gave him an extra win.
I was 2-1 last week.
I can't. This whole show is. Sean, come on, bro. Give me the heat.
We're good. Let's go.
Oh, first of all, let me get this up there, right? Wayne, I have seen you share 25 posts in the last 3 days.
Oh, boy.
And every one of them has either been something about the Eagles or Dak Prescott for MVP.
Ugh.
That's it. You're going to get your cake Sunday, and let's see if you guys can eat it at home. And by the way, if you win Sunday, guess what? You're still in second place. The losers. And by the way, I hate to break it to you. I hate to break it to you. But it is December. It is December.
It's like
and
kryptonite
Dallas
for
Cowboys,
Superman.
just like Batman in the light, just like whatever. I forget, vampires is when the sun comes up. You can count on 3 things since 2000. Death, taxes, and the Cowboys to suck in December and January. All right, so NFL. We had a rough weekend for the Philadelphia Eagles fan. We got stomped by San Francisco. They told us they were going to kick our ass. They wore all black in our stadium. They bullied us on the field. They took our lunch money. And then they left. The only win of that game was Big Dom getting some FaceTime. Now, I'm not here to make excuses. We got our ass beat. Not here to make excuses. Followed by an excuse.
I was going to say, I hear the butt.
If you thought the Philadelphia Eagles were going to go 16-1 this year and go through that entire gauntlet without a loss, without a trip up, I don't know what to tell you. Everyone looks at this game and like San Francisco's just so much better than Philadelphia, but forgets that there's ebbs and flows of an NFL season. No one wanted to say anything when San Francisco lost 3 straight games to Cleveland, Cincinnati. No one said a word. No one said a word. But they're 100% healthy. Trent Williams was back. Deebo Samuel was back. And they beat the crap out of Philadelphia. One game off of 10 days rest versus 3 games in 13 days is just different. The Philadelphia Eagles played Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis played the most snaps of their life just 6 days prior. It's not saying the 49ers wouldn't have won the game regardless. I'm saying that we lost the game and we still have the best record in football. So, like, pump the brakes on the, bunch of talking heads, bunch of screaming idiots going on national television. I got news for you. One of them is my "you got to be kidding me." So I cannot wait to get into that. I won't go too far into it. David Carr, moron. Stephen A. Smith says I just think that the Eagles win last year wasn't justified after watching that game. You're a moron. We lost our offensive coordinator. He's coaching Indianapolis, bringing that dog shit franchise to a playoff spot with a backup quarterback. We have a new defensive coordinator. We're missing our starting middle linebacker, our backup middle linebacker, our starting slot corner. And where did San Francisco destroy us? Over the middle of the field. Credit to Kyle Shanahan. He had the game plan. He did a great job. I just think when we see them again in January, it's going to be a different story. We'll find out. Now, Darius Shaq Leonard has been signed by the Philadelphia Eagles to shore up that middle, to be our middle linebacker. Now, we're not getting the same Darius Shaq Leonard that we had that was an all-pro linebacker. But what we are getting is better than the dog crap that we put on the field last week. Nicholas Morrow needs to be unemployed after last week. That was the worst beating I've ever seen from a linebacker playing for the Eagles since LaVon Kirkland. Your thoughts on the Eagles 49ers last week's game of the week?
I mean, it was kind of like worst fears coming true. I mean, I would say it was one really bad half, of being honest. I didn't think they were that far out of the game in the first. I think there's things they need to fix. I think they needed, in a weird way, kind of like you said, I think the loss kind of lets them exhale a little bit in a weird way. You hold on that tight for that long and have all these tough games back to back in high pressure situations like that. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's by no means an excuse for the level of play that was displayed on Sunday, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But to your other point, this isn't the end of the season. This isn't going to be some epic downfall of the team. I wouldn't be surprised if they go down to Dallas Sunday and win. I think they kind of needed a reset. You heard it from Kelsey and a couple other guys. They were just like, they were real honest about it. They're like, we got our rear ends kicked and, we got to regroup and just start from square one on Tuesday and get ready for Dallas. I don't think they'll have any problem getting up for that game. Especially because if they win, I think they go up to like 90% to win the division. So, it is a big game and it's not the end of the world if they lose. But I think Shaq Leonard will help. The one thing that, even after all the great moves he's made, that he's kind of gotten still a little bit critiqued for is the lack of, depth of money that we spend at the linebacker position. And you're seeing it now. N'Kobe can't stay on the field. Cunningham's hurt now. He got a little bit exposed on Sunday. But that being said, I'm not sitting here crying over spilled milk. We lost to, in my opinion, the second best team in the NFL. Is what it is. It's going to happen. Like you said, they weren't going 17-0. It's, you put your big boy pants on, pull them back up, and you go back to work and get ready to play a football game on Sunday. So, we'll see what happens. I think at some point the big thing for me, the play calling has to change. I've said it over the last couple of weeks. Every time we talk about the Eagles, I'm tired of them constantly getting away from what is working for no reason. Jalen Hurts is clearly banged up. I don't need to see hero Jalen Hurts play calling. I don't. You have a guy behind you that's averaging 7 yards a carry for the season, and just run the ball against every team in the league. Give him the goddamn ball. This game gets a lot easier if you consistently give DeAndre Swift 20 touches a game. It gets real easy. You keep your defense off the field. You keep Jalen Hurts upright and healthy. Take the stress off that knee. Open up play action. You make Devontae and AJ's life easier. You're getting Dallas Goedert back. Just run the goddamn football, please. And I'm sure everybody saw the two guys that showed up at like 6 o'clock this morning with the sign at the NovaCare complex. Sirianni actually kind of laughed at it and actually kind of agreed. I'm hoping we see that Sunday. Run the football. I just don't need to see Jalen Hurts throw the ball 45 times a game. That's not when we're at our best. It's just not.
The Philadelphia Eagles, and Control, I'm going to go right to you. You know, Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles bought those guys coffee that were outside the stadium.
Yeah.
That's hilarious to me. Control, is this doom and gloom for Philadelphia?
No. I mean, I don't know. Everybody, well, I know Bill picked the Eagles last week, and Gene, I know you technically did too. But for the most part, like a lot of people, in a sense, saw this coming. Now, I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be the 49ers winning by the amount they did. I didn't think the 49ers were going to go into the link and score 6 straight touchdowns on 6 straight possessions. But I did see this being their Super Bowl. Like, they've had this game circled. They've had the thought in the back of their mind of, hey, if Brock didn't get hurt last year in that game, we think we would have had a chance to beat them. They 100% needed this game for their psyche. You can't go into the NFC playoffs this year knowing that you lost to the Eagles again, but this time with Brock Purdy. All your guys are back and healthy, and you know you still know in the back of your mind we lost 2 games and we didn't get it done either time. So the 49ers, that was a situation that it was damn near a must win. And then the other thing too was that game, they 100% needed that game, because if the Eagles win that game, you could basically kiss the number 1 seed goodbye. And at this point, you know, it's still the Eagles to lose. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I did think the Niners were going to win that game, but by no means is that the end all be all. Lane Johnson's a little bit banged up right now. Of course, if the Eagles get that 1 seed, they're going to have a bye. That gives these guys another week to get at least a little bit healthier and just give them some time. Now, with that said, on the other side, the 49ers are going to have to play that first week. They're going to have to play that wild card game, try to go through and you know, be unfazed. Then they got to play the tougher opponent in the divisional round if they make it there. And then they're going to have to see the Eagles in that NFC Championship game. So in the big picture, this was a must win for the 49ers. The Eagles, it would have been a very nice to win, but they know this wasn't their best effort. They're not going to be like, oh, damn, you know, the 49ers are just better than us this year. What can we do? They're going to beat us in the playoffs again. So it's nice, you know, for 49ers fans. I'm sure they feel, you know, vindication for last year's playoff loss. You know, see, Brock was there, threw 4 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, the reality of it is the 49ers needed that game way more than the Eagles did. Not saying they didn't try to win that game, but that's really just the reality of the situation. But I will say, while we're here, I'm sick of the narratives being pushed. You talked about it with Wayne talking about, you know, sharing posts about Dak Prescott being an MVP candidate, things like that. I'm not giving you brownie points for beating a 6-6 Seattle Seahawks team that shouldn't even be going to the playoffs this year. For Brock Purdy, did he play great against the Eagles? Absolutely. But let's not put him in this MVP discussion because he was throwing 5-yard passes to Deebo Samuel, and then he was taking them 60 yards up the field. Like, that's not what the MVP is, in my opinion.
He's the MVP of the league.
He's not the MVP.
Brock Purdy is the MVP.
Not off of that game. That game doesn't show me.
It might not be off that game, but he's the MVP of the league.
I disagree. I don't think he's the MVP of his team. Christian McCaffrey's more of an MVP in my mind than Brock Purdy.
Who's your MVP?
I would have C-Mac.
We're going to give it to a quarterback. You can stop playing CMC and Tyreek Hill.
But I don't. You don't have to give it to a quarterback. Hasn't earned it this year. I know they're going to, but a quarterback hasn't earned it this year.
So if Jalen Hurts haven't played of MVP, who are you giving it to?
I would give it to. You said, what was the question? We're talking.
You have to pick a quarterback to give MVP because they're not going to give it to. You're right. Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, whoever.
No, not even just with them. I'm just saying CMC is having a better season.
You're right.
Brock Purdy is.
You're not going to give him MVP. So I'm asking you, if there was a best quarterback award that they had to give to the most prolific quarterback of the year. Who are you giving it to?
Right now, see, I don't even want to do that because if we
Brock
have to
Purdy.
do that, for me, it'd be Dak Prescott.
Okay, that's fine.
But I don't want
These look
to
there
do
too.
that. Neither one of them are
You
having
don't have to want to do
MVP
that.
seasons.
They're going to
in
pick
my
a
opinion.
quarterback. So what I'm asking you
I
is,
know, but that doesn't
how
make it right.
who would you pick?
That doesn't make it right, though. Tyreek Hill has 1,400 yards, and there's 5 games to go. Like, he's on pace to have 2,000 yards this season. And Brock Purdy's and Dak Prescott, they're going to probably end the season with like 4,500 yards. Dak's going to have 10-plus interceptions. Brock Purdy's not even going to have the most touchdowns on his team. And we're talking about these guys being MVP candidates. Like, I don't agree with that part of it.
About Deebo Samuel taking a 5-yard slant to the house or a screen pass to the house. I'm going to bring up a stat for you. 48.5% of Brock Purdy's passing yards this year are yards after a catch. Last year, Patrick Mahomes won the MVP. 52.3% of his passing yards were yards after catch. He has the most air yards and per completion. He has the most air yards per completion in the NFL, and he has the highest completion percentage in the NFL. He's the MVP.
Okay,
I hate saying it. I'm
Patrick,
wrong. Like, I hate saying I'm wrong about Brock Purdy.
With Patrick Mahomes, though, did he not have the most touchdowns? How many touchdown passes did he have last year? Was he not the leader there?
Yeah.
Dak Prescott's like 7th in touchdowns there.
Second.
So, like, in yards, he's 7th.
In yards, okay. Now we're at yards. We're a totally different stat.
He's 7th. He's 7th in total yards. Touchdowns, you said he's where?
Second.
In passing touchdowns?
Yes. It might be total touchdowns. I could be wrong. I know he's second. I don't know if I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, I don't.
I got you.
This isn't
Baby Bird.
He's not my MVP. I'd have C-Mac and then I'd have Tyreek. Then we could start talking about quarterbacks because those two guys are having the better seasons.
Passing touchdowns. He is not close to the top. Where's Dak? I would love for you to be right. Where the hell is Dak for passing touchdowns? Oh, number 1. He's 26. He's got number 1 in the NFL. I was looking from second to fourth. He's number 1. He has a 26 touchdown to 6 interception ratio. He's got a 108 quarterback rating, which is number 2 among active quarterbacks.
That's Dak. We're talking about Brock.
Okay, we're talking about Brock. Brock is number 3 in passing touchdowns with 23. And he has the highest quarterback rating in the NFL. He's the MVP. Brock's the MVP. I hate saying it. He's the MVP. I was wrong about Brock Purdy. He's very good.
I'm not even arguing about the fact of him being good or not, but saying so right now what we're saying is he's the best quarterback, so that means he's the MVP. That's
the award.
But it shouldn't. That's not what the award was intended for.
And by the way, Dak has 3,234 yards passing. CJ Stroud leads the NFL with 3,540. So he's 300 yards behind CJ Stroud. Sam Howell is second at 3,466. Then Tua, Jared Goff, Dak, Josh Allen, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I said he was 7th.
And yards per attempt, number 1 in the NFL, Brock Purdy.
That doesn't mean much. That's Yak is involved in.
No, yards per attempt. His yak is 48.5%. I gave you the stat for this already. The last 4 guys, I hate saying this, right? The last 4 guys that led the league in completion percentage and yards per attempt in the NFL won the MVP.
I'm not arguing what happens. I'm not arguing that at all. I'm saying if you look at this season of Brock Purdy's, I'm not even just saying it just because it's Brock Purdy. I'm saying if you say, hey, we have a receiver that is on pace to break the all-time single season receiving record, and then we also have a running back who is on pace to potentially have 30 touchdowns this year, those are the guys who I have as MVP. Okay, I'm saying for a quarterback to be there, I need 5,000, those Peyton Manning seasons where he had 5,000 yards or 50 touchdowns passing.
Okay, so
other than that,
if I didn't tell you the quarterback's name and I said he has 3,200 yards passing. He has 116 quarterback rating, 23 touchdowns with 6 interceptions, and he has the second best record in the NFL. Would you think that was an MVP candidate?
Because he's a quarterback, yes. Again, not my point. Not my point here. I'm talking about when you're having all-time seasons.
The point is this, right? Stop thinking the MVP will be a positional player again. The offensive player of the year is your positional, your running back, your wide receiver. And here's another thing, since you're talking about MVPs. Guys, if Tyreek Hill got hurt, the Miami Dolphins would still be a good football team. They wouldn't be where they're at, but they'd be a good football team. If Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback gets hurt, your season's over.
That's a dumb argument.
Why is that dumb argument? Who's more valuable, Tua or Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill.
No, he's not. Because
no. So if that's the case, you saw what Miami had when they had just Tua. You saw what Miami was before Tyreek Hill got there.
Bro,
Tua just magically got better when Tyreek Hill got there.
He got better. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks in football.
You know why he got better? Because he has a top 5 receiver that he's throwing the football to.
He has an offensive coordinator that's his head coach that built the offense around him. The motion that they run, the checks that they run are incredible.
You know who else has gotten better? Jalen Hurts has gotten better. You know when that started happening? When A.J. Brown got to town.
Yes, you're right.
You know who else got better? Josh Allen got better. When did Josh Allen get better? When Stephon Diggs got there.
Right.
Joe Burrow got better. When did Joe Burrow get better?
Joe Burrow didn't get better. He's been better his whole career.
Jamar Chase is in town and they go to the Super Bowl. Like receivers, I understand the quarterbacks are the more valuable player there. There's no argument from me there. But when you're having historic season, Brock Purdy's not having a historic season. He's having a great year for quarterback. I'm not taking anything away from him.
When you're one of 5 quarterbacks to lead the NFL in air yards per attempt and completion percentage?
That's not who did it 3 years ago.
Lamar Jackson did it 3 years ago.
Are you 100% confident in that?
Yes, I am. He did his MVP.
Okay. Who did it 2 years ago?
Patrick Mahomes.
Are you saying every single time that the MVP comes from a quarterback, they lead in both?
No. I'm saying if they lead in both, they won the MVP. It's happened 4 times in NFL history, and all 4 times the quarterback has won the MVP. Peyton Manning did it, Lamar Jackson did it, Patrick Mahomes did it, and the 4th person is friggin' I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
And you know how many other great quarterbacks we've had here, so that stat doesn't even. Drew Brees has had phenomenal year. Obviously, he didn't do it because he's not one of the 4. Like that is not the end all be all. That's not historic. No one's going to remember 25 years from now. You know what? Back in 2023, there was this guy. He led the league in completion percentage, and then he also led it in yards per attempt. That guy, you know what? He did it. You know, I think he did it 3 years in a row. Put that guy in the Hall of Fame.
You're absolutely correct. But just like you said earlier, the precedent has been set in the NFL, just like it's been set in the college football playoff, that a quarterback is going to win the MVP. When Cooper Kupp did the ridiculous season, he didn't win MVP. When Megatron did his ridiculous season, he didn't win MVP. Guys, you can
be fair though. Those years you had historic numbers though. The year that
look at what they've done and say offensive player of the year. That's what the award's for. It's for running backs and wide receivers. That's what it's for. It's not MVP is quarterback. And by the way, when Tua was out last year and Skylar Thompson was their quarterback, they didn't win much.
They were a possession away from beating Buffalo, and Tyreek Hill's numbers didn't drop off.
Did they win?
Not everybody wins.
Quarterback's more valuable. Shai, you got any opinion on this? By the way, fun debate with you, Katral. I respect your point, and you're right. It probably should be Tyreek Hill or Christian McCaffrey because they are super valuable and they are better players. That's not the precedent, though. Shai, what's your opinion?
Yeah, but this goes back to the same thing as the college football. It doesn't just because they do it that way doesn't mean the precedent's right. It's just something else they do wrong. They're going to hand the MVP to a quarterback every year. And I mean, Brandon brought up a good point. Put 15 quarterbacks on that San Francisco team. They don't miss a beat. I like Brock Purdy. I think he's good. You take anybody else in the top 12. San Francisco is still a great team.
I think they're still a great team. I think Brock has completely bought into what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do, and it's a match made in heaven.
It's not bought in. It's what he has to do. It's not like he came in here like making demands, being like, I want to air the ball out. That's not what he can do.
Okay, so it's what he has to do. Buy into what Kyle Shanahan did.
And it makes it 100% easier when you have the best running back on the planet behind you that's on pace to score 30.
And the best left tackle and one of the best receiving corps. I agree with you.
All right, so stop piling all the praise on Brock Purdy like he's the reason they're winning. He's not. They're a good football team.
They're a very good football team.
Agreed.
But
why did they give away so much to get C-Mac? Because he was the pivotal piece that they were missing.
You're right. I, once again, completely agree with you. It's a quarterback award. I'm forcing you to give it to a quarterback. Who are you giving it to right now?
I'm not giving it to Brock Purdy, and I'm sure as hell not giving it to Dak Prescott.
Who are you giving it to?
I'll just give it to Mahomes.
How?
Just for the fuck of it, you know?
Just for the fuck of it. He's doing the most with the least.
He's not. He just lost to Green Bay.
Yeah,
hey, you know what?
It's because he's got 4 high school wide receivers on his team.
I am so glad we are here because that is one of the things that I wanted to bring up. Let's talk about it.
Go ahead.
Patrick Mahomes. This is the third game not in a row, but third game this season. He has had a chance to put his team ahead. We saw it week 1 against the Lions. We saw it against the Eagles, and now we have this Packers game. He had a chance to take the lead. He failed. Are we talking about his clutch gene, or does he just get a pass because he's Pat Mahomes?
He gets a pass. He has 2 MVPs and he has 2 Super Bowls.
Understood. I get that.
When you win in this league, you get a pass. When you're 4-7 as a quarterback, you don't.
I understand that, and that's perfectly fine. So I have another stat to back that up. I'm just saying.
Cool.
So since 2020, guess how many game-winning drives Patrick Mahomes has had? And I picked 2020 because that was
6.
Justin Herbert's rookie year.
6.
He's had 11.
Okay, it's pretty good.
Guess how many Justin Herbert has had since 2020?
14.
14 is correct.
And you know why he has
let's not because his team is always behind. That's
not
fine.
accurate.
I'm sure that I thought that's where you would be going, but
Pat Mahomes blows out more teams, which is why Justin Herbert has more.
Which is fine. But my point being here, let's just stop this narrative just because this is a team game. The narrative doesn't have to be there that he doesn't come back and win these football games. He's got more than Pat Mahomes since he's been in the league. So let's not do that.
Is win?
I'm tired of the narrative.
Stat? Is win-loss not a quarterback stat?
It's an everybody stat.
No, but is it a quarterback stat?
Sure.
Okay, so if win-loss is a quarterback stat, and you have one guy who's won 2 Super Bowls and 2 MVPs, another guy that's below 500 in his 5-year career.
You're moving the goalpost.
I'm not. He doesn't win.
Nobody on the show ever debated that Justin Herbert won more than Patrick Mahomes.
He brought up Patrick Mahomes.
Your argument.
I'm not arguing about winning though. I'm arguing about this.
Is that he can't win a game in the fourth quarter. Control just gave you a stat that he's done it more than Patrick Mahomes. That's been the argument. Nobody's saying he's better than Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's ever said that he's won more. You're moving the goalpost to fit your narrative. That's what you're doing right now.
Didn't move any goolpost.
And that's what I'm here.
Game he's played this year.
End the narrative.
I've watched every single one of them. And every single game he's played this year. What has your
argument been all season?
He doesn't win the big game. Correct.
Kuchel just proved you wrong. He's done it more
times. He did not prove me wrong. 14 game-winning drives when you're playing against the Oakland Raiders because you let them stay in the game.
In the same division.
He beats them by 30. That's not a game-winning drive.
Again, he's a better quarterback. Nobody's arguing that. Nobody ever said Justin Herbert was better than Patrick Mahomes.
But you're saying he has more than Patrick Mahomes. He has more than Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes doesn't allow that many teams to play in close.
We're going on 12 weeks for 12 weeks now. Every time you come on the show, it's Justin Herbert can't lead a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter. That's your narrative.
This year.
He's done it 14 times since 2020. That's my point.
It's a cute point. He's 5-7. It's cute. Like it's nice that you brought it up.
I mean, what was Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer? Like, what is Trevor Lawrence now? Like,
that's not my fault that the Chargers haven't made an adjustment at their.
I'm not saying it is, but we didn't come in here damning Trevor.
How many times Justin Herbert's had the ball with the game on the line and it's failed? Because the truth is this, and I'll give the numbers once again: 36-34 Miami had the ball with 2 minutes left. down a field goal, lost the game. 27-24 versus the Titans. Had the ball in the red zone, down 3 points, couldn't get in the end zone. Got the ball in overtime, went 3 and out, lost the game. 28-24.
Game.
Oh, I'm not done. 28-24.
Game.
I will. I'm doing it right now. 28-24 versus the Vikings. Had the ball on the 30-yard line, went for it in 4th and 1, and didn't get it. And guess what? Kirk Cousins threw an interception in the end zone at the goal line. He got lucky. Was up 24-3 over the Raiders.
That's score. A game-winning. He had a game-winning drive that game.
He was up 24-3. How is that possible? I have this. That's not accurate. He was up 24-7. I'm sorry. They didn't score a point in the second half. They not 1 point. They almost blew the game like they did last year. They didn't have a game-winning drive. And if you're going to call that a game-winning drive, then you're counting game-winning drives in the second friggin' quarter. Okay, let's continue. 2017 versus the Cowboys. Had the ball, game on the line, lost the game. How about the Lions? How about the Packers? 23-20. Now, get it. Granted, Quentin Johnson dropped the ball. He should have caught. Had the ball, chance to win the game, lost the game. Ravens, 13-10. Had the ball, chance to win the game, didn't win the game.
Leaving out the point in the Packers game where he scored with 3.5 minutes to go. Defense came on the field and Packers scored in 4 fucking plays. That's Justin Herbert's fault too. And
they lost 23-20.
Quentin Johnson drops a goddamn dime in his hands to at least get a fucking field goal.
That's You're right. You're right. And I brought that point up. I didn't
for our fans out there, had to do a little bit of fact checking because again, I was right. Chargers were down in that game 24-21 in the 4th quarter. Justin Herbert got the ball back. Minnesota Vikings game this season. Okay. Justin Herbert got the ball back, led the Chargers down the field, scored a touchdown, a 30-yard pass to Joshua Palmer.
With 8 minutes left in the game.
That is a 4th quarter. That is a game-winning drive.
It's not a game-winning drive when you have the ball 4th and 1 with 3 minutes left and you go for it and don't get it.
Was his team losing in the 4th quarter? Yes. Did they score a touchdown in the 4th quarter to get ahead? Yes. Did they win the football game? Yes. That is a game-winning football drive by literal definition.
Why your 14 game-winning drives are stupid. Because he had the ball 4th and 1 at their own 24-yard line, and they didn't get the first down, and they got lucky because Kirk Cousins threw a pick in the end zone at the 6-yard line.
Okay, so we're talking about them getting lucky there, but we're not talking about these teams scoring touchdowns after Justin Herbert puts them ahead. So that's not having bad luck. That's just, hey, Herbert, we gave you the ball back. You had like 40 seconds and you didn't get it done. Herbert is the top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's a very good quarterback. I can't stand when people have him top 3 or 4 in the NFL when he hasn't done shit. And that's a problem with me. And that's the only issue I have. And I think, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think that Justin Herbert will look a million times better when they replace that doofus of a head coach, Brandon Staley, with another coach. But what I have to go off of is right now and what he's looked like. And there are people out there, and I'm one of them, that had Justin Herbert rated above of Tua Tagovailoa. And if you're being honest with yourselves, Tua is the better quarterback right now. He is. Lamar Jackson's the better quarterback right now. I'm just saying when Trevor Lawrence was with Urban Meyer, we saw how that campaign went. We didn't come on here and we didn't crucify Trevor. We said that Urban was a dope.
He got crucified across the whole planet.
Everybody who knows football.
No, he didn't, man.
Everybody who knows football, they said, "Oh, Doug Peterson's going there. Oh, I bet Trevor Lawrence is going to have a much better
And he did.
Things. And he did right away. So,
and I can't wait to see Justin Herbert having a good coach. I just don't know if the Spanos will hire the right coach because they're a bunch of idiots. I wish Justin Herbert would get out of there and go to a different franchise and make his career amazing like he should. By the way, you know who else had a narrative about not winning the big game in the beginning of his career until he did? It was Peyton Manning. I'm not saying Justin Herbert can't be Peyton friggin' Manning. He could be that good. He has that talent. But I need the right coach there. And guess what? As much as we love him, Tony Dungy couldn't get over the hump. Couldn't. He eventually got there. Peyton Manning eventually got there. That's what was said about these guys. Now, until it's proven differently, I'm not going to go, okay, well, I'm just going to assume when he has a better coach, he'll look better. I'm going to go by what I see. And in all those games that I read you, he had the opportunity to win the football game. He didn't. Maybe it's not Justin's fault. But I feel like that if there was any other quarterback in football that doesn't throw a beautiful 50-yard spiral the way Justin Herbert does and didn't have a doofus of a head coach, we wouldn't be saying that.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they had a good head coach and they didn't throw a good football, and I didn't think they were great, you're right. I wouldn't say that. But
the Spiders should be
the case with
put in
Herbert.
jail for what they're doing to Justin Herbert. They should be put in jail. Brandon Staley should have been fired last year after that playoff game, blowing a 28-3 lead. But we won't mention anything about Justin Herbert not gaining a first down in the second half. We won't mention a word about that. So, I mean, I get it. Coaching matters.
He's not free of blame there.
Correct. And that's the point. The whole thing afterwards, Staley needs to get fired. I can't believe they lost this game. But no one wanted to say Justin Herbert couldn't get a first down in the second half versus Jacksonville. No one. And the point I hate about it is it's the same thing that me and Shally argued about with Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons. It's percentage of blame. I just think he deserves some of it. People give him none of it. And it drives me
I definitely
up.
give him some. I give him some.
I think it's 70-30, Staley, Herbert. But people are like, it's 95-5. Herbert would be Montana if he had the right coach. And I don't agree with that right now. Let's preview some games. Shall you talk more?
Are we getting in the coaches?
I'm just not arguing about Justin Herbert anymore.
Let's do coaches. I didn't bring up the Herbert point. I wasn't about to. Cottrell tried to corner me and then got quiet.
Oh, no. I mean, again, I was right.
No, you weren't.
Look, he had a game-winning drive this year.
Down 7 in the 8 minutes left. Did they give game-winning? Are they fourth quarter game-winning drives?
Fourth quarter game-winning drive.
Just making sure they're fourth quarter.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe it was 7-3 and it was a game-winning drive in the first quarter. I don't know.
Fourth quarter or overtime.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Coaching carousel. Can we talk about coaches? I'm going to give you a list of coaches, and I want you guys to tell me whether you think they survive. They start next year as their team's head coach.
Fired. First one, whoever you get, fired.
Okay. I'll start with one. I'm going to make it difficult for him because he said that. I will.
You're going to go. I know where you're going.
Do you know where I'm going?
I do.
Kevin Stefanski.
Oh, you weren't going there.
I was.
He's not getting fired.
Was he not on the hot seat coming into the season?
Coming into the season, yeah.
And when they lose out and they don't make the playoffs, could he get fired?
No.
Okay. I get it. I agree with you. I'm just giving examples.
They won't.
Bill Belichick
won't get fired. I could see him not being the coach, but Robert Kraft's never going to fire him.
If I'm being 1,000% honest, Bill Belichick needs to get fired from his GM role. Man can still coach. The talent, they just have no talent on that team. But I don't think he'd get fired, but I don't think he's coaching the Patriots next year.
Riverboat Ron.
Fired.
Gone.
Agreed. Next one on the agenda, Mr. Matt Eberflus.
Fired. Gone. He should have been fired yesterday.
Agreed.
Never should have been hired.
Brandon Staley.
Fired.
Gone.
We're firing a lot of coaches.
Oh, yeah. Might be the most ever, to be honest.
Schefter said the other day if it's not in double digits, he would be surprised.
I agree. Dennis Allen.
Fired. Saints are too talented to be under 500 right now. Fired.
Are they though?
That team is full of talent roster.
I agree. I don't disagree with anything you said.
I don't disagree. If there's anybody that ekes out another year, I think it might be him.
Todd Bowles.
I think he's safe.
Safe?
I think he's safe.
You can say I think he stays. I don't think he's safe.
No, what I mean, in terms
know.
of fired or staying, that's what safe for me is just stay. I'm not saying he's nothing to worry about.
Arthur Smith.
Gone.
They're probably gonna win the NFC South, so I think he keeps his job.
That's so terrible.
It is.
If I was Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, I'd have a meeting with the GM and be like, "Are you guys for real with this? Like, you guys drafted all three of us in the top 10 in the NFL. You think we're the
can't
problem?
see the football. We can't see the
You
football.
think we're the problem? Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, 3 top 10 picks at skill positions, and they got Desmond Ridder playing quarterback.
Throwing the ball to Jonnu Smith and handing the ball off to Tyler Algier, which
it's
neither one of them stink, but come on.
I think that situation is very similar to Tampa because, I mean, until they address the quarterback position, I don't think it really matters.
No, Arthur Smith is still an idiot. Like, he just – the times that he takes Bijan Robinson off the field makes like, he's by far the most explosive player on that offense. I don't know how he doesn't get more touches.
Okay. Do you guys think that Jonathan Gannon gets another year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a surefire. I think he's pushed that team in the right direction. They're not winning a lot of football games, but the team plays inspired week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 or 4 weeks they played dramatically better than they started the year.
Do you think Antonio Pierce keeps the job in Las Vegas?
I do. I don't think he botches it again. I think there's enough people in his ear to realize that he can't make the same mistake that he did with Rich. So I think Antonio Pierce is the head coach next year.
I think he should, but I do think you're going to see a different coach there. I'm going to go fired.
I don't think that. I think they hire someone else.
Yep.
I think they make the same mistake.
Yep.
If they do that, honest to God, I hope they go 0-17. I really do. I will actively root against the Raiders next year.
I got a fun one for you. Mike McCarthy. No one thinks about him getting fired, but if he loses in there early in the playoffs again,
he really depends on how the season ends. So I'm not going to say that
I'm
he can't get fired.
Project.
I think they're going to win a playoff game this year. I mean, if they get to divisional and they lose to San Fran or Philly, I don't know if that's enough to fire them. Both those teams are better than the Cowboys.
I don't care.
I'll say he stays.
You cannot keep losing games in the first round of the playoffs. When we brought you here, you told me Kellen Moore was the problem and that you needed to be in charge. And so we said, hey, we're going to do that. And you lose again this year. I don't care how the game looks. It could be a walk-off field goal. It could be a fumble. I don't give a damn. I think Jerry's going to be like, look, this isn't good enough. Fired.
I think they win a playoff game this year and then they lose to either Philly or San Fran in the second round.
I got 2 more tough ones, and I think I'm missing one. So if I miss one, let me know. But I have 2 tough ones. Pete Carroll. He's
not getting fired. I don't think that's tough.
Does he need to retire? No. That's what my man Cool just said in the chat.
I think he's. I would say he's probably closer to like that Bill Belichick category. I don't know if they would ever fire him. I think they would try to ask him, like, not forcibly, but they would give him the dignity of stepping down. I don't think they would fire him.
Not gonna lie to you. I mean, with that Seahawks team, I'm not saying he's great by any means, but I think he's doing a good job. Like, how many people thought Geno Smith would be what he is? Now, obviously, this year is not as good as it was last year, but him having 6 wins with that team, I'm not saying it's a terrible team, but Geno at the helm too, and they're in playoff positioning, I think he keeps it another year.
All that team needs to do is get a quarterback. That team gets a good quarterback, that offense is going to be stupid. If they have a ball a guy that can consistently get the ball out to those receivers and those running backs, that team's an offensive juggernaut if they get a good quarterback.
I do think this one is something I'm probably missing too. I obviously didn't use Brian Dable. He was Coach of the Year finalist. Sean McDermott was the last one that was on my list.
Oh, I got another one then.
I said it earlier in the year. I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think he's gone. I really do. I think he's had chance after chance after chance. They got Diggs. They did this. They did that. He can't get over the hump. And at some point, you got to change the voice in the room.
Well, what am I missing, Gatro?
To answer that one, I would say he stays only because they scapegoated Ken Dorsey. Now, Joe Brady, I've always been a friend of Joe Brady. He was the OC at LSU in 2019. I think depending on how Buffalo looks these next few games, even if they don't go to the Super Bowl, I think they're going to give them one more year together, like a full year, to be together and kind of see what happens. But the one that you're missing is in that division. That's Robert Saleh.
I think he stays. I don't think it's up for debate.
I think that's the question mark though. Like at what point is enough? Like I personally think he stays too, and I don't think he's earned like to be fired. But if you look at his record since he's been there, I mean, it's not even. You look at that record with pretty much anybody else, regardless of the situation. It's like, hey, we're getting this guy out of here at the end of the season.
I think the biggest mistake the team made. I'm sorry, Rashad. I think the biggest mistake that team made was not getting a backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they'll make that mistake next year.
I agree that I think he stays. I just don't think it's as solid as it was at the beginning of the year. I think even with Aaron going down, and you can't project that and prepare for that. I don't think we've had the chance. I think he'll get the chance to see what he is with him being his quarterback. But I think with some of the stuff that has gone on this year with certain guys in the locker room, the reports coming out that, he has lost some guys with the Zach Wilson debacle and everything. I just don't think it's as short-footed as it was, but ultimately I think he stays and he gets one more year with, and I will say if they don't win, if they're not good next year, I think he gets the axe though.
I think it's insane to kind of think about here. Like the NFC South, I know we went over all their coaches, but I wonder, has there ever been a year where every coach in one division has been fired or let go or whatever? Like not been.
It's very possible in the NFC South.
Yep,
it is. I think the GM wants to go a different direction with Atlanta. I don't think it's it's that far fetched. Even if they win the division, they're going one and done. I mean, they're not beating anybody in the playoffs.
That's my point. I think they end up losing in the playoffs. I think Arthur Smith is. I think Arthur Smith's the worst coach in that division.
Yeah,
because I would like
even with Frank, I would say Arthur.
Yeah, because I like Todd Bowles. I don't think you can even really see what he is yet. I mean Baker's done okay, but I mean with the people they have there, same thing. Until you get a quarterback there, I mean you really don't know what that team is.
All right, well, let's get into some previews, some games. We have 3 big games this week. We're going to preview, then we'll get into pick 'em. Then we got some in-season tournament action, and we'll touch on the MLB winter meetings. It'll be the first of many Major League Baseball conversations, and look out for a new show coming shortly, 1st to 3rd. It's coming to Wire2Wire Sports Network shortly. But let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Are they the best team in the AFC? They're playing the Los Angeles Rams this week, who are surging. Your thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens? Are they the best team in the AFC?
For me, I would say it's a de facto yes, because of the top teams in the AFC, they happen to be one of 3 that still have their starting quarterback. And I like what their defense looks like. So I'd say yes right now, but I don't even know if that. Me saying yes now, I wouldn't even say that they're my favorites to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC.
Okay. Charlie?
I think they're playing the best right now. I think a lot of what Cottrell said factors into. I mean, you have the Bengals without Joe Burrow. You have all these other quarterbacks hurt. I don't think we have like the true, landscape of what we usually have in the AFC. But I mean, they're also doing what they're taking care of business. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Rams team has looked great since everybody came back healthy. But I mean, if I had to pick, it's really hard to pick against Patrick Mahomes come playoff time when it gets cold and all the crazy stuff starts happening. But, again, if you're going based upon how teams are playing right now, I don't think anybody is playing better than Baltimore in the AFC right now.
They're the best team in the AFC. And it's not even to do with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's playing great, but the reason that they're the best team in the AFC is their defense has significantly gotten better. And the 2 players that you can most blame for that significant jump on the defensive side of the ball, Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton. I'm telling you right now, that's the best middle linebacker and the best safety in football. I move over Fred Warner, move over Justin Simmons. That's the best middle linebacker and safety in football. They've been real this year. Just maybe a wild thought, maybe a wild opinion, but I think the Ravens right now are the best team in the AFC. They play the Rams this week. Any chance you'd see the Rams upsetting the Ravens this week? I kind of kept this one brief because we have the other 3 games we got to break down, but I wanted to at least give the Ravens their purple roses.
I see Baltimore winning, especially at home, but I think it's a good game. I don't know what the spread is, but
7.
Yeah, I think it's closer than that. I think the Rams are playing really well. Stafford looks good. Obviously, having Cooper back. Kyron Williams has just been out of this world. Had a huge game last week, first game back from his ankle sprain. The defense is starting to kind of look like the old defense. So all those kids that got playing time a lot last year, and they've improved. They've taken steps forward this year. I think it's a really good football game. I guess I think Baltimore wins, but if I had to pick it, I would probably take the Rams in the points.
I'm taking Baltimore. I think what you saw last week with the Rams was I don't think they'll be able to have the same success against that Baltimore team. Kyron, I think, will have a bit of a slower paced game. And then as far as the Ravens go, I think they're going to be able to score on that Rams defense. So I like Baltimore to win the football game, and I actually think Baltimore covers.
Not one of my picks. I'm going to go with Baltimore, though, too. But let's get into the 3 games that we are breaking down this week. We'll start with Seahawks 49ers. It is a division game. The Seahawks are 12.5-point dogs at San Francisco. Could this be a letdown spot for San Francisco?
I don't think so. I mean, do they cover? Maybe not. Like, maybe they start slow. I think there's always, and me and you believe in it a lot, actually. Emotional letdown, stuff like that after big games. They just played them. They played them the week before the Eagles, I believe, beat them by a gazillion. Seattle, is coming off a tough loss. Played well offensively. I think they keep it a little bit closer, but I don't see them beating San Francisco. I like San Francisco in that game.
Control?
For me, I like San Francisco as well. I think it'll be a game where San Francisco is not. I don't think they come down from that emotional high that they're riding on. I like San Francisco to roll. I think they have a lot of success in the running game, and I just think that San Francisco is in a spot right now where they're going to try and reel off as many games as possible, knowing that the Cowboys face the Eagles later on in the day, and they might have a chance at being tied for the 1 seed.
I think the Seahawks 100% cover this football game. To me, it's a no doubt about it. For me, I think that you're going to see it once again, a team coming off of 10 days rest and a team that's traveling back across the country after 7. I love the Seahawks cover to 12.5. I think it's a very close game. I think San Francisco wins the football game, but I think it's very, very close, and I love the Seahawks to 12. Next game on the docket, we have the Buffalo Bills coming off the bye week, coming off all the issues with Von Miller. They're going to head into Kansas City to take on the reeling Kansas City Chiefs. What do you like in this one?
I think it's wild Von Miller is going to play in this game, if I'm being honest. But this is. I mean, I think this game has a bigger impact than I think maybe beginning of the year we thought it was going to. It's almost a must win for Buffalo to try to stay in the race and snag a wild card spot. And to your point, it's kind of a reeling Kansas City team at home, licking their wounds after an embarrassing loss up in Green Bay to Jordan Love. I would say if Kansas City didn't lose last week, I think Buffalo. I would have liked Buffalo's chances coming off a bye, going into Kansas City and maybe winning. Especially a full almost 2 weeks for Joe Brady and Allen and everybody company to get on the same page and really dial in what they want to do at Kansas City for game plan wise. But now, kind of like I said, I don't see Mahomes losing at home. I don't, not now. So I think the spread's 1.5, something like that.
Yep.
It's damn near pick 'em. Won't be surprised either way, but I will. If I had to bet on it, I'll go Kansas City.
I'm going Kansas City here as well. I think at the end of the day, it's tough picking against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, week in and week out. These tough games we're starting to see the Chiefs not win these games this year. And that's not even like me being funny or just having that conversation that we've had last year. But the reality is that Travis Kelce looks like he's taking a step back, and the receiving core, there is no one there that Patrick can fully rely on. So that's why I have a little bit of uncertainty with this pick. But I think the Chiefs know at the end of the day, their ultimate goal is to get the 1 seed. And I think that's going to get them to, they're going to get up for this game. I think they're going to win it.
They're not getting the 1 seed.
I don't think so either, but I'm just saying like that's their goal.
The way they do have a path, they have to win out, and they need Baltimore to beat Miami and then lose at San Francisco. Very realistic that could happen. I'm picking the next 2 games. So I'll give you somewhat of a breakdown of the game, but I won't give you my pick because 2 of them are my picks. So I think it's a very interesting game. Buffalo coming off the bye week. Andy Reid off the emotional letdown. I am looking at this Chiefs team like, I've said this a couple weeks ago. Godfrey said it first. I give him credit. This Chiefs team looks like an Andy Reid team I've seen before. 2002, 2003, Thrash and Pinkston. He is undervaluing the wide receiver position again. It was one of his crutches that he had when he started, and it looks like it's rearing its ugly head again. That Chiefs wide receiving core is terrible. Will they get up for a home game in Arrowhead, though? We'll find out. I'll give you my opinion on it when I give my pick 'em. The last game on the docket, Sunday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles are 3.5-point dogs. They're traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. I'm also picking this game.
I'll go. I touched on it earlier. I think how this team practices this week, how they regroup. I mean, again, it's a very veteran-laden team. Got their asses kicked. It happens. It's football. I don't think they're going to have any trouble getting up for this game. Like I said, it's not the end of the world if they lose. If they win, they really put a stranglehold on the division coming down the stretch here. And really, for lack of a better term, put a really good grip on the number 1 seed overall as well. This is one of the games, I think, if you're a 49ers fan, you're hoping the Eagles lose. But that being said, like I said, they got to weather the storm. I do think Dallas will come out hot in this game. I do. And I think if they can stay in it, get this game to the second half, and then just let your team do what they do. I think they're going to be okay. I do think they go to Swift. I think Swift has a big day. I think Jalen plays well. I really do. This is kind of a prototypical Jalen Hurts type game, coming off a loss. A lot of people, as they always do in this city, overreact. It's Jalen this, Jalen that. I think he shows up Sunday night and plays well. I think the Eagles go into Dallas and then win.
So I'm going to be on the other side here. And I know you guys are going to hate it. Eagles fans in the comments are going to hate it. But I'm picking the Cowboys here. And it's not because I think that the Cowboys are the better team. I just think at some point, most likely this season, the Eagles, there's a good chance they may see them 3 times this year. And, as much as I give Dallas shit, it's tough to beat a good team 3 times in 1 year. And I know if they see them in the playoffs, the Eagles are 100% winning that game. So I just think it's a spot here where the Cowboys are at home and the Eagles are coming off. This is the gauntlet. They've been running the gauntlet. The Cowboys have kind of been coast a little bit. I know the Seahawks game was closer than they'd have liked it to be, but I like the Cowboys to essentially get a revenge game from the first one, losing the game earlier in the link. I think it's going to be tight, but I got the Cowboys winning at home.
Well, the Cowboys are starting their gauntlet. The Cowboys have Philadelphia, then they got to travel to Buffalo, then they got to travel to Miami, then they got the Detroit Lions. So,
and that's when they'll start. Like when you have the start of the gauntlet, you're okay. But once you get into the meat and potatoes of that gauntlet, luckily for the Eagles, they're on the decline. Like they're about to, just coast to the finish line. But the Cowboys are starting that route. If this was like game 2, game 3 there, probably pick the Eagles, but just given where it's at, I like the Cowboys here.
That's fair. Let's get into NFL Pick'em, boys. Right now, Chally's still in the lead, even after 0-3 week. Me and Cottrell rearing right behind. It says something when you go 0-3 and you're still 4 games above 500, though. That's pretty solid. So, Chally, what's the order, my friend?
Gino, I'm going to let you lead off. I'm going to let Cottrell go second, and I'm going to go third.
Didn't work out well for you last week.
I know. Gotta go back for it. I do applaud you for getting all the way back to 500, but I've had 2 bad weeks this year and I've rebounded both times. So I think I gotta have a good week here.
I go big or go home. All 3 of my games are go big. Well, 2 of my 3 games are big or go home. First one I like the over in the Lions versus Bears game. I think it's gonna be an extremely high scoring game. It's only 43.5. I think Goff and Fields go nuts this football game. I think it's I think one of the teams might cover that 43.5 by themselves. I could see this game being a 42-35 shootout, something of that nature. So I'll take the over 43.5 in the Lions versus Bears. I couldn't believe it when I seen the number. There must be snow happening this week in Chicago because there's no way they stand at 43.5. Second game is I was fully prepared to come on this show after going into this week and pick the Buffalo Bills coming off their bye to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Von Miller stuff happened. Kansas City lost on the road. They're coming home. It's a big game. I think Kansas City wipes the floor with Buffalo. I think this is the beginning of the end of Sean McDermott. I think that Buffalo Bills team is really reeling. I'll take the Chiefs minus 1.5 at home. For my third game of the week, you find out a lot about a team. Actually, you know what? I'll do it a little better. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as the San Francisco 49ers. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I got the Birds plus 3.5 over the Dallas Cowboys this week. I think the Philadelphia Eagles bounce back and smack down those Dallas Cowboys and claim their division that they own and win this football game Sunday night in Arlington.
All right. So, Gene, you gave us some exciting picks. I'm going to kind of give you some yuck. So my first yuck. I think this is the yuck of the year. I feel like it's a lock, though. I don't know how it's not a lock. Give me the under 30.5. New England at Pittsburgh. Call me the sucker, but I don't see how these two teams combine to score more than 30 points together. Bailey Zappi and company, we saw them put up 0 points against the Chargers last week. And now the Steelers, they lose Kenny Pickett for this game. He had surgery. When he was there, they stunk offensively. Now they got Mitch Trubisky there. The Patriots are averaging 4 points in their last 2 games, and the Steelers are averaging like 13 even without Matt Canada. I don't know how this game can get over 30.5 points unless people are fumbling in the end zone and then others are just diving on top of it. So I feel like that's the lock of the century there. But of course, watch it be wrong and it's offensive fireworks. But second game I like the Texans minus 3.5 at the Jets. Again, this is a game. This New York Jets team, they don't know what they want to do at quarterback. They can't put points up on the board. CJ Stroud's playing really good football. I know the Jets have a good defense, but if you put up 17 points in that game, you probably cover the 3.5. And I think the Texans are more than capable of doing that. So I like the Texans on the road, take care of business there. Then the last game I like the Titans plus 13.5 at the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins play great at home, but I think the Titans game plan in this game is going to be to try to limit possessions. And especially with Jalen Phillips no longer being there. I know he's not on the middle. He's more on the edge. But I think Tennessee will be able to slow the game down, run the ball effectively against that Miami Dolphins team. And still going to lose the football game. But I like them to cover 13.5.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll start off. I'm going to go against Cottrell right off the bat on one of these. I'm taking Miami minus 13.5 at home. Derrick Henry's a concussion protocol. Not sure if he's going to play.
He's
I
not in the
don't think.
protocol.
Well, he said he was, but anyway, I don't think it matters. I don't think they're going to be able to limit possessions enough and drag this game down and run the ball and do all that enough. I think as soon as Miami starts busting open a couple plays, game's going to get out of hand. Tennessee's going to start throwing the ball a lot. I don't like that. I don't like, I don't like the whole Will Levis drop back 34 times a game plan for Tennessee. I like Miami big at home. Second game, I'm going to take Vegas plus 3 at home against Minnesota. I know Jettis is probably coming back this week. He's been activated. It looks like he's going to play. But that being said, I think Vegas has played inspired football since Antonio Pierce took over. They're playing at home where they always play well. They're going to run the ball. I think they'll be able to move the ball against that Minnesota defense. I really do. You're going to give me 3 at home for the home team. I'll take Vegas plus 3. Last but not least, I'm going to go with Cottrell's Browns minus 3 at home against the Trevor Lawrence list, Jacksonville Jaguars. I know Blaine Gabbert's not a bad, a horrible backup quarterback. He's a career backup. I also think with that pass rush, you're going to get after him. I think he throws a pick or 2 at least, maybe a pick 6. I think Cleveland's defense is going to pin your ears back and go. I don't think Jacksonville's going to be able to move the ball consistently against Cleveland. I think Cleveland makes enough plays. Jacksonville's defense has been a little spotty the last couple of weeks. I think they'll be able to pass the ball. I like Cleveland at home minus 3.
A little spotty. Jake Browning looked like Joe Montana Monday night. There's something about Doug Peterson with backup quarterbacks, though. I don't think Trevor Lawrence plays, but I think that C.J. Beathard gets the job done and they beat Cleveland.
Did the Bengals make a mistake?
What do you mean?
Jake Browning looked like he could be a franchise quarterback.
I don't know. What do you mean? Did they make a mistake?
Well, they just paid Joe Burrow $200+ million, and Jake Browning is looking like
I'm not doing
like a savior.
I'm not doing this with you.
Won a game against the 8-3 Jaguars.
I'm not doing this with you. Let's get into MLB action. Juan Soto trade. Juan Soto looks like is it finalized? I think it's all but finalized. Traded to the New York Yankees for a bundle of prospects. Now, Juan Soto has made it known to anybody that would listen to him that he is going to play out his contract and he is going to become a free agent. I think the Yankees think that they can re-sign him, obviously, by getting him in that locker room for a year and getting him around that culture. He wants to win. Juan Soto has said this time and time again. He wants to win. That's where he wants to be. He wants to be in an opportunity in which he can win baseball games. That's why he didn't take a ton of money from Washington. That's why he didn't take the blank check that San Diego offered him when he got there. And that's why he hasn't re-signed. He won't re-sign with the New York Yankees. So Juan Soto to the Yankees, your thoughts?
Just real quick because I know Bill's going to give the full breakdown. I just looked it up. It said the only thing that's basically holding it up now is San Diego's getting all the physicals of the prospects that would be coming in.
It's crossing T's, dotting I's, and paperwork now. So if they've agreed to the framework of it, it's pretty much done.
Okay.
It is. I mean, listen, New York's given up a decent amount to get him, so it's a gamble. I mean, it's a gamble to re-sign him. I 1,000,000% agree with Gene. I don't think there's any shot Juan Soto does not test free agency. Not saying he doesn't end up re-signing in New York. You could go there, fall in love with it, love the clubhouse, all that good stuff. Playing with Judge and all those guys, but there is no way he signs a contract before the year's up. He's 100% going to hit free agency. I look at it. I mean, all I heard from New York all season was they didn't want to get into this. They didn't want to get into inheriting the big contract or necessarily bringing in the big player because they've admittedly, kind of said they've gotten into too many of these contracts, some of them which they want to try to get rid of. Have that be, Giancarlo Stanton, maybe DJ LeMahieu type guys like that. And they go out and get in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. So just goes to show you can never really believe anything. They're giving up a couple really good prospects that a lot of Yankees fans are not happy or leaving. I think this is one of those trades where I think you can look at it from both sides and you legit think, both sides win. Because the Padres are going to be in the same situation if he stayed there all year. He wasn't going to re-sign there. Like Gene said, they offered him a blank check when they traded for him. He said no. So they probably weren't going to be able to afford him. You know, I think it kind of gives up. I don't want to say gives up, but it hampers what the Padres are probably capable of, you know, this year, especially because they're going to lose Blake Snell as well, most likely. So I think it's a win for both teams. I think the Padres got 3 top end prospects that hopefully, if you know, even if 1 or 2 of them pan out, they can say 2 or 3 years from now they felt like, you know, that they won. And in the short term, you know, the Yankees are trying to bulk up to keep up pace and what's just becoming a freaking juggernaut of a division, the AL East. So, you know, I think it's a win for both teams. You know, I'm not mad that he's out of the National League. I'll tell you that much. You know, we don't got to deal with him in the playoffs, but you know, I always take you know, certified talent over prospects. You know, I hate to say it, but I'd probably rather, if I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket, I'll put them in, you know, the basket of the guy that I know what he's going to do, not what, you know, some kid might be 3 years from now, especially in baseball, because we see it too often where these kids get traded in these trades and you never hear from them again. So I think it's a win for the Yankees. And like I said, I think the Padres feel like they won as well. So, you know, it's the first kind of blockbuster deal to get done. And it's because it doesn't involve pitching. And, you know, we're still on Shohei watch, unfortunately.
Before we get into Shohei watch, because we're going to get into that next, Scott Boras said that Bryce Harper wants an extension already. He has 8 years left on his contract. Is Scott Boras the devil? How are you asking for an extension when you're going to be here for 8 more years to 38 years old? And you're trying to sell the team on, well, he's going to play into his 40s because he's going to play first base so he can keep recruiting people to Philadelphia. Like, Bryce doesn't believe he can recruit people to Philadelphia unless he's assured that he's going to finish his career there.
That's why he's one of the best in the game.
It's you have to look at the other parts of this as well. So on the surface, you look at it that way. Scott Boras is also just doing what his client's asking him to do. I think you have to look at it from a positive that if Bryce does think he's playing till 42 or whatever it is, he wants to make sure that he plays here. He loves it here. I mean, I don't think it's a road or a boat that you try to rock. Also, what it's going to do is if they're signing an extension, it's going to be kind of similar to what Mike Trout did with his. You're going to rip up his old deal. So what it's going to do is you'll be paying Bryce more money down the road, but it's also going to give them a little bit of cap relief in an upcoming next 8 years that he originally was going to make 30, whatever it was going to be. That number will actually come down a little bit. So, listen, man. I mean, I don't know how many years he wants. So I think, you know, I need to see the specifics of it. But if he's just trying to get an extra 2 years so he can play till he's 40 and then retire here, and he is going to play first base, and that includes him continuing to, you know, go out and make phone calls and be like, dude, you got to come play here. Like, got Trey Turner, like guys like that. Give him whatever the hell he wants, dude.
I get it. There's no salary cap. You can't argue it. It just comes off real weird to me.
I get it.
Control, your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think it, regardless, I think it kind of shows the goodwill essentially of the Phillies, especially if they're able to do that as well. Because if you're like a free agent that is, you know, 28, 29, 30, and, you know, you're looking for a great deal like that, not even saying you guys are going to be in the Juan Soto sweepstakes, but if you're looking, like if you're a guy like Juan Soto and you're like, hey, I want to go to a contender, and this is how they're going to treat their guys that perform for them, that are leading them to the playoffs and, you know, being clutch players for them and in the MVP discussion, that's how I want to be treated. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad look for them. Now, of course, you know, you're at 8 more years. You talk about extension already. I get how that looks kind of crazy, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And then just real quick on the Juan Soto thing, I'm never going to say a team that's getting Juan Soto is the losers, but the issue here is the Yankees are going to be in the same boat as they were last year. They still don't have any pitching, and, you know, hopefully they address that. Well, hopefully they don't, because I don't care if the Yankees win or not, but they don't have any pitching. Juan Soto doesn't change that. He doesn't make them World Series favorites now, even in that AL East, the favorites to win that division. So I think that's really the tough pill to swallow if you're a Yankees fan, especially getting him on a rental.
Where does Shohei Ohtani end up?
I think you're down to two teams, and I think it's either he goes back to the Angels or he goes to the Dodgers. Cubs have pretty much come out and said that after meeting with him, and they didn't say much, but it just made it sound like they're not willing to go, to maybe what he thinks he deserves or what he wants. It's really, man. I mean, from everything I've read, he really values his privacy and his anonymity, and he's apparently he is like Roy Halladay type in his regiment and his routine, and he that's a big drawing point for him to stay in Anaheim, because he can do all that kind of with not being bothered. It's one of the things Mike Trout's even talked about before. I ultimately think he goes to the Dodgers. I just I can't see him going back to Anaheim, knowing the next 2 or 3 years they're just not close. I know the GM came out and said, that 100% he's not trading Trout. I think that all depends on 100% on what happens with Shohei. I just can't see him re-signing in Anaheim. They're just I know you have these two guys, that are elite superstars, but everything else around them needs to get better. It's not a 1-year fix. I just can't see him sacrificing the next 2 or 3 years of his career before Anaheim's probably really.
He doesn't want to win, Charlie. He
I
wants autonomy. He doesn't want to win. He wants his regiment, and he's going to get a ton of money from the Angels. He's going to go back to the Angels because he doesn't care about winning. He doesn't want expectations on him. He's going to make a ton of money and not win. And that's exactly what he's going to do.
See, that's why I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to make a ton of money no matter where he goes. But I do think he wants to win. And that's ultimately why I think he goes to the Dodgers. I think he's plug and play there. But it's at the end of the day, I mean, you can't. I mean, listen, we all said the same thing about Mike. He said he wanted to win, and then out of nowhere, we were all sitting there one day, and then breaking news, he signs a 10-year, $430 million contract.
Ron Washington all but said that he's coming back. And literally, I'm telling you right now, he wants it because and he said one of the clear things that he wants is his autonomy, his privacy. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that Dave Roberts did is mention the conversations that they had, like an idiot. It's like so ridiculous.
I think though the one thing that'll be interesting is because I think regardless wherever he goes, he's going to make a ton of money. Like I don't think there's any question there. I almost wonder though, does he sign a somewhat shorter term deal? Because he knows he's not pitching next year. He already said that. Does he go all in? Because I mean, if he comes back and pitching and he is as dominant as he was, he's then going to make even more money than what he's probably looking at right now.
This is his guaranteed shot to get the 10-year deal worth $55 million a year. You could say that, and I don't disagree with you, but that's betting on yourself, and it's betting on yourself on a guy. I don't think his hitting is going to be affected, even though you saw it with Bryce this year at the beginning until he really got comfortable in the elbow, really got better. He has a history of elbow issues pitching. And a lot of guys come back and they're fine and they throw harder and everything else, but you do have other guys that, like we talked about 2 years ago, like Noah Syndergaard, dude through 99 his entire career. He didn't come back from it. Some guys do, some guys don't. And that's a big gamble, because if he doesn't, he's leaving $200+ million out on the table then, because he won't get it.
And quickly, where does Yamamoto end up? I think he ends up as a New York Met.
I'm really torn between the Mets and Boston. Boston's been,
that's it. They're the two names. They're the two teams that have been deep discussions. Steve Cohen just flew out to meet him in Japan.
I did see that.
I think that's
Cohen.
That's it.
Cohen wants to get him, obviously, because he's young and he wants to, kind of be the start of the rebuild of that rotation.
And he's going to build him up as you're going to be the guy.
Yep.
Yeah. And Boston obviously wants to get him because they're in the same kind of boat. I mean, they got to rebuild their rotation. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but you're going on 3 years now of Boston not being relevant in that division. and you're kind of staring down the barrel of it happening again right now. And like we said, last year, Baltimore's not going anywhere anytime soon.
The one thing that Boston has is he has his former teammate on their team, Yoshida, and that could be I think it's Boston or New York. I'm leaning the Mets, but that's why it's those two teams.
I think he goes to New York.
I'll play devil's advocate. I think he goes to Boston. I think it's interesting though. Like I think it's interesting. You look at him though. He's kind of embracing the East Coast and the media. And I mean, if he goes to the Mets or Boston, I mean, it's going to be, nuts. And Shohei kind of eliminated everybody on the East Coast very quickly. Like wanted to stay in the warm weather, wanted to stay, on that side. And then kind of, it's very interesting. Two different mindsets for two guys that play with each other and, know each other and, what they're going to be. But it's just goes to show you, man, not everything's for everybody.
Agreed. Last thing I want to talk about tonight before we get into You Got to Be Kidding Me is the in-season tournament. I will say this. I was wrong. It's definitely drawing more interest than I expected it to. A lot of these teams are out there playing hard. A lot of these teams are out there. Man, Tyrese Halliburton the other night over Boston was incredible to watch. The Milwaukee Bucks over New York last night, I was locked in. The Lakers Suns, amazing game. Horrible call down the stretch, but amazing game. They stole that game from the Suns last night, though. That call is terrible.
Yeah, nothing better for ratings than getting Braun on there somehow.
Well, they're down to 4 teams now, semifinals. Out of the 4 teams left, who do you got winning it?
So on the West side, I got the Lakers beating the Pelicans. On the East, I have the Bucks beating the Pacers, and then I got the Bucks taking care of business against the Lakers.
I have the exact same thing. Nothing better than Giannis versus LeBron in the first in-season tournament finals. They're so happy that's the way it's good. But I will say this. I love watching this Pacers team play basketball.
They're fun.
Tyrese Halliburton just keeps taking step after step after step. Bennett Mathurin, Obi Toppin, Buddy Hield. I love watching the Pacers. Man, I'll tell you right now, I would trade the whole Sixers team for the whole Pacers team, and they would be a much more fun team to root for and build up.
The funny part is that Tyrese Halliburton didn't have to get traded from Sacramento. Like, imagine if that guy was playing with De'Aaron Fox and
but he wouldn't have Sabonis.
Kings team.
They wouldn't have Sabonis.
They wouldn't. But still, I mean, just that backcourt, like playing with in that Kings system.
I actually think Sabonis is a better fit for De'Aaron Fox and Sacramento. I actually think they're better because they have Sabonis.
It was either counteract what Fox does with a big guy with a big that can pass and score, or load up on your guards and go from there. So I mean that's a decision they had to make. But I think I'm not overwhelmed by it. I mean, I think it's a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. I do some of the court stuff is really cool. That being said, some of the teams didn't take it seriously. Some did. Now, out of that, you get somebody like the Pacers who are like, okay, like we're probably not winning a title this year, but we'll go try to steal the in-season thing. They made it as a priority, and you get an exciting team, going against the Bucks team, which is cool. I'm not gonna get into the Lakers thing. I mean, they had no business winning that game last night. That was honestly one of the worst calls I've seen in a long time. But
I don't know if they lose the game. I just don't think they like.
I don't know they lose the game, but you probably at least go to overtime. You got to see who wins.
Correct.
I mean,
I agree.
To be devil's advocate here, no, bad call. It was a bad call. I'm saying the ref that called it could not see that the ball was loose. That's all I'm saying. Like, it wasn't like
it's fine, but
he
you
was
can't
in
call
on it. I get that.
It's like when you're umping, you can't call something you don't see. You can't be like, oh,
that ball was so clearly loose. But
it was for sure. It was for sure.
But I mean, again, you're gonna get Bron and Zion in the West, and again the Pelicans and really the Lakers for the same. They're probably not serious, title contenders, but you're gonna have a lot of big names in Vegas. I mean, it'll do well. I think it'll just be really curious to see how everybody looks at it. He steps back in the offseason this year and decides how they're going to approach it next year. Because you had a lot of teams that came out from the get-go and they were like, it's going to be what it's going to be. And then other teams were like, yeah, like we're doing our load management, putting it on the schedule. And if if it means they're sitting in one of those games, like, oh, well, it is what it is. So be curious to see if any teams change their mindset on it next year and maybe really becomes like a thing where it's like, all right, like every team wants to win it. Because then I think it could really take off and it could be fun.
All right, well, let's move into You Got to Be Kidding Me. We're running up against it. Cottrell, you can get us started.
Yeah, so mine this week is the NCAA yet again doing some shady shit they have no business doing. So Raekwon Battle is a player with West Virginia's basketball team, and he just transferred in from Montana State. This is his second transfer. So obviously the rule with the NCAA, you can't transfer more than once without having to sit out a season. But they do have like asterisks that can get you around that. So whatever those requirements were, Raekwon Battle met every single requirement. And the reason why he transferred from his last school is due to mental health. And he had all the documentation to prove that. And so he applied for, the waiver to get cleared to play this season. And the NCAA still declined it and didn't even give him a great reason for it. They just declined it, said, hey, it is what it is. You got to sit out this season. It's just a joke of an organization, the NCAA, not truly caring about the players. They want to say sometimes it's, hey, these are the rules. We got to stick to them. And then other times, like the college football playoff, they're like, we kind of want to do what we want to do. We know these aren't the real guidelines, but that's just where we are. So for me this week, the NCAA getting it wrong yet again.
Come on, you got to be kidding me.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
In the next 3 to 5 years, the NCAA will have no oversight on college football at all. I'm telling you, at some point, all these colleges are going to get in a room and they're going to be like, don't need them. We'll keep all the money and we'll figure out how we're going to pay our kids and we'll do what we want to do. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
All right, Michelle, what's yours?
I'm going to do a stupid one, but not stupid, but it's just petty for me. I'm going to go with Jamal Adams getting into it online with a freaking reporter and bringing the guy's wife into it. So Connor Hughes used to be a reporter, or still is an online reporter for the New York Jets, where obviously Jamal Adams used to play. He posted a clip of Jamal Adams getting beat in the Dallas game for the game-winning touchdown. Didn't tag him in it, didn't antagonize him or anything. Just said yikes. Somehow I got back to Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams went super petty and posted a picture of the guy's wife and said yikes. And then it kind of backfired because obviously I don't think he thought he was going to get the blowback that he was going to from not only players, but a lot of people, even saying, like, I don't see what the issue is. Like, she's not like, I don't know if Jamal Adams thought she was ugly or what he was going to prove or what he was going to do, but everybody's like, she's kind of like a pretty woman. Like, she has nothing to do with this. You're being petty for no reason. Dude, just grow up. You're a millionaire playing football. Who the hell cares, dude? Like, it's Twitter. Like, if you take anything that happens on Twitter seriously, like, you have issues. Like, this is Kevin Durant stuff, man. Like, just let it go. Just go play football. You're in the midst of a playoff race. Go worry about football. So for this week, Jamal Adams being.
Come on, you got to be kidding me.
Real quick, I'm giving mine to David Carr. David Carr went on a TV show and said that the Philadelphia Eagles should strongly consider making Marcus Mariota their QB1. Let me tell you something right now. Jalen Hurts is third in MVP odds right now. He was second last year. They had the best record in all of football. Are you guys out of your friggin' mind? Get the mic out of that dude's face. Absolute moron. David Carr, you dope. You got hit too many times.
Come on, you got to be kidding me.
Dummy got hit too many times. We're going to wrap up, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. That's College Cottrell. That's Scholastic Uncle Shally. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, and we are signing out.